Welcome back to Criminals and Phantoms. The first time we've been here in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We hope you guys had a good Super Bowl weekend and everything and whatnot. But before we get into today's show, Alex Murdaugh, Sonia, was
Yeah.
found guilty and
Yeah.
will serve a life sentence. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I mean, it seems like just a couple days ago, but I guess it was much longer that I had covered that story and had done a few hours where I had watched bits and pieces of the trial. And I know that a lot of people don't think that this is just. They don't think that the state had proven without a doubt that he had committed these crimes. But a lot of people, a lot of people did. A lot of people did believe that. I know there was some issues with
Hey, he
some,
was at the scene. The video proved
yeah,
it.
and there was some stuff with some juror, and there was a lot of stuff that happened with this case. I mean, southern United States trails are always just batshit crazy. So I was glad that justice was served. Um, but with that, Sonia, just you and me today.
Yeah. No
Landon
Landon.
Landon may or may not drop in. You have some things planned for us.
Yes, I did.
Now, can you explain to us how game works?
Okay, so I'll be telling you guys three stories, and you have at the end, I'll say the three stories first, and then at the end, you have to decide whether they are true or they're a tale.
Fair.
Trust your instincts. That's what it is about. Trust your
So,
instincts.
so the last probably 2 months, Sonia has been writing
I know.
fan fiction for us,
I had to
basically.
make some stuff up.
And yeah, we're gonna see how good I am and how good the audience is subsequently at guessing. So this is a fact or fiction sort of game,
Yes.
um, and I'm excited. It looks like I'm
It's a
gonna be
little
our
funny. It's a
yeah.
little funny
It's a little
too.
funny.
So
Sonia's gonna make us laugh.
it's a little funny.
See, this is the first show in a long time, Sonia, where I don't have to do any work. So I was like really excited for this, you know. And if Landon was here, I know he would be happy because watching you do the reading and whatnot, he would just
Yeah,
find that hysterical.
I know.
So with that, for anyone who's going to tune in later, if you guys are watching this, share the video around, leave some comments, guess along with me. And Sonia, I throw it over to you for story number one.
Yes. So story number one is called Love is Blind. Jackie was a beautiful 22-year-old woman living in New York when Ken immediately laid eyes on her. Her looks was often compared to Scarlett Elizabeth Taylor and turned heads wherever she went. Ken was obviously smitten by Jackie's beauty and demeanor, and in his mind he had to have her. It was love at first sight for Ken. Jackie was born in February 1937 in the Bronx. Her parents got divorced when she was still at a young age. Jackie was raised by her mother, her aunt, and her grandmother. She was brought up in a very sheltered household. Down the years, Jackie graduated high school, and when she met Ken, she was working as a secretary at an air conditioning dealership. Ken did everything he could to woo and to win Jackie over. He was 10 years older than Jackie, a sophisticated lawyer. He would buy Jackie flowers and expensive gifts, and even take her to some of the most exclusive spots in Manhattan for dinners and drinks. However, shortly into the relationship, Jackie found out that she was in fact not the only woman in Ken's life. Ken was still married to another woman and had a daughter by which he kept a secret from Jackie. Jackie confronted Ken, giving him the ultimatum on either it's me or the other woman, but got to divorce her. Jackie made it very clear of that. If he doesn't keep his promises, she would end up leaving him. The couple did try to make things work for a while, and Jackie truly believed that Ken would leave his wife in order to properly be together because she didn't want to be known as the other woman. Sadly, Ken couldn't keep up his promises he made towards Jackie. Jackie did stuck to her words and left Ken and went on to live her best life possible. Jackie did find someone else to start dating by the name of Alan. To Jackie's liking, she found him to be a real snack. Fit, simple, and very handsome man. Everything was going amazingly well. The pair even got engaged. Then suddenly in June of 1959, Ken hired three men, which he said he allegedly just supposed to beat her up. But the man ended up throwing lye into Jackie's face. It is a chemical solution that left her permanently disfigured from that day onwards. She then became permanently blind from the attack. Jackie had to wear these huge, thick black glasses for the rest of her life. Ken denied ever having ordered the three men to throw lye in Jackie's face. He only allegedly ordered them to beat her up real good so that she would learn a lesson. At the trial 2 years later, Jackie said Ken had made the following statement while they had their affair together. Quote, "If I can't have you, no one else will. And once I get finished with you, no one else will want you." Unquote. Ken ended up in jail for 14 years. His actual wife divorced him, and during those years, he continuously tried to reach out to Jackie. Phoned her on many occasions. He really wanted to continue on with the relationship. However, Jackie was going through countless surgeries and hospital stays. Jackie's fiance left her after an attack. Ken was obsessed with Jackie, writing her multiple love letters to swoop her in. Wrote these letters from prison and in hopes of reconciliation. He even promised her that he would get her a therapy dog. Once Ken was released from prison, he proposed to Jackie on live television. Surprisingly, she said yes. They stayed married until 2013 when Jackie passed away at age 75 due to heart failure. Ken and Jackie were married for more than 38 years. They really stuck through to death do us part line in the traditional marital vows. So that is story one.
So that was story number one. So do you want me to wait until the end to guess?
Yes.
You want me to wait until the end to guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So for those of you who are tuning in, we appreciate it. Please leave a like, comment, play along with us, share the video. We always appreciate that. For those of you that joined a little bit late, Sonia here took the time to write us some stories. Some of them are fact, some of them are fiction, and we have to sort of guess. We have to use our analytical minds and see what we believe to be true and what we believe to be false. I think I know that one.
Okay.
I think I
Okay.
think I know.
Wait till the end.
I'll wait till the end. I'll wait till the end. I'll be good. Would you like to start your second story then?
Yes. So
Go
story number 2 is called With a Help from a Chewing Gum. In 1976, White's neighbors started to get worried. Nobody had seen their friendly 70-year-old neighbor in quite some time. They called police to her August, Maine home where they found a gruesome scene. White had been brutally stabbed to death and was laying in a puddle of her own blood. Neighbors were shocked and police were befuddled. Pictures of the scene were taken and evidence was collected, but the investigators could not make an arrest. The lone suspect they could come up with was a homeless man who had briefly lived in White's home well before the murder. He was seen breaking into a house in the neighborhood not long after the murder, but he fled town before he could be apprehended. With the only suspect nowhere to be found, the case went cold. So 34 years later, in 2010, Barry Rice was homeless, living on the streets of Seattle. He got into a physical altercation with another homeless man, cutting his stomach with his knife. The victim fled the scene, but the police took Barry into custody and entered his knife into evidence. That's when a match came up between the DNA on Barry's knife and the DNA left behind at White's house in the murder scene. When the cold case investigators in Maine saw the DNA belonging to Barry, they finally had their second chance. With the help from Seattle authorities, the Maine State Police approached Barry on the street and asked if he would like to participate in a chewing gum survey. Barry was game, and he unknowingly chewed on a couple of pieces of gum for the detectives, handing them the exact fresh DNA they needed. Barry was arrested and
What a
convicted of the
dumbass.
murder of White, finally closing one of Maine's oldest case.
So that's the end of the second story?
Yep.
What
I
a
tried to make them short.
No, I understand. Listen, we don't have to go long. What a dumbass. If this story is true, I will save it to the end, but what an absolute dumbass. So to reiterate the last two stories, Sonia, the most recent story, basically, there was a elderly woman in which this person supposedly used to live with. He was then connected to an attack on a homeless person in which they were able to connect the DNA. So the way that they made sure that the DNA connected was by going to him and saying, "Hey, chew this gum," and like an idiot.
For a survey.
Now, the first story is a little bit more convoluted. Has to deal with a husband who had hired some people to beat up his wife. They had ended up blinding his wife, and she had actually taken him back. She ended up taking him back, and they had ended up being, I guess, finishing out their life together. And we will get so the folks at home, you can guess, which is fact, which is fake, or maybe they're both fakes, maybe they're both facts. Who knows? Sonia, are you ready to get into the third and final story?
Yes.
The third story is the final story, I assume.
Yes, it is.
Go ahead.
So story number 3 is called Silk or Polyester.
Oh boy.
In August 1950, 40-year-old Nicholas Richardson was working at a general hospital in Jacksonville, Florida. One of Nicholas' patients was a 29-year-old brunette woman by the name of Maria J. Pickles. When the couple met, Maria fell head over heels for Nicholas. He was a charmer and showered her with expensive gifts, brought her flowers for her bedside table, even wrote romantic Spanish poems for her to read. He promised her that she'd be very well taken care of and that one day she would be able to walk out of the hospital freely. She was quite delighted to hear that, knowing that she would not be alone. Then suddenly, out of the blue, she disappeared from the world. Her parents and her sister had no clue as to her whereabouts or even had known her relationship with an older man. She kept that information a secret from them since day one. They questioned Nicholas where Maria went, since he was a doctor after all, but all he mentioned to them was, quote, "she left," unquote. He denied ever knowing what had happened, and yet somehow he managed to sneak his patient out of the hospital without them being seen. During the disappearance, Nicholas had her hidden all along, killed her and buried her on his own property. He was brought up in a strict religious family, sang Spanish love songs to her at her gravesite. One day he went into a mental breakdown and decided to remove her body from the grave and take her back home. He thought that Maria didn't deserve to be buried in the ground. Nicholas dug up the grave and carried her back in a wagon to his home. Over the next decade, Nicholas preserved the woman. He replaced her skin with silk and wax, stuffed her body with rags in order to keep its shape, and even used perfumes to disguise the awful smell. Plus, he also kept the body in his bed. Not realizing the mistake he had made in the past, Maria's sister stormed into his home with police right behind her. That's when they found out the truth of Maria's disappearance. The autopsy showed the cause of death was due to a miscarriage, a poison lethal injection, and found a tube in her vajayjay containing semen. Nicholas confessed everything he had done and had stated to the police, quote, "Suffer no more, my sweet Maria. I have sent to you to the angels with my golden elixir," unquote.
Fucking Jesus Christ. Hearing Sonia say vajayjay was the highlight of that story. So man, I wish Landon was here. So Wow, that's a lot to unpack. So, are the stories that you wrote yourself, are they also inspired by true events?
Yes.
See, that makes it difficult. Are we ready for guessing? Do you want me to go take you through
Yeah,
my thought
go ahead.
process?
Yeah.
So, my thought process, starting at the first story first,
Yeah. Love is blind.
I believe that that story is true. The
Yes, it
reason
is.
it is true, okay.
It is. Everything I said about that story is true.
Wow,
Except for
interesting.
their names. Their real
Yeah,
names is Linda Reyes Purgot
okay.
and Burton Pugat. They never had any kids together. Burton did pass away in 2020. Burton was declared insane 3 times during the trials in 1961. He removed the lens in his eyeglasses in court and began to slit his wrist. He chanted out, quote, Linda, I need you. Linda, I love you. Linda, I want you, unquote. And there's also a movie based on that, their relationship, and that's called Crazy Love.
Very interesting, everyone. Very interesting. So, okay, the
He ever
second,
denied sending 3 men to get her too. He
okay,
denied all that.
so the second story, this is where it gets difficult because the second story seems like it would be true, but I refuse to believe anyone's that stupid, so I have to say fake.
No, it's definitely true.
Really, that one's true.
It's true.
That's fucking crazy.
The real names is Blanche Kimball, who was the victim that got killed, and Gary Robb, who had gone as Gary Robert Wilson back in 1970s, was the suspect. He had 2 aliases.
Well, Gary Robb's a dumbass.
I know, dude.
What the fuck's wrong with you? You fucking.
The servant. Yeah.
So, all right. Dare I say we are fact all across the board? Is the final one also a fact?
It's a tale.
It's a tale. Wow, Sonia has a very creative. I thought the last one. I thought the last one was so well written. I was like, "There's no fucking way she just wrote this up." I was like, "There's tubes and eggs." Wow,
Silk and wax. Yeah.
Sonia's into some weird shit, guys. That's what I'm hearing. I mean, so what inspired you to write that one?
The third one?
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Sonia.
I think the doll. I think because I was thinking of something that would be similar to a doll in a way. So I was like,
God.
let's do it with a human.
Sonia's like, I have a candle wax kink, so I just thought I'd incorporate that into the story. Wow, no, that was really well written. You know what we need to do? We need to at some point do this again, where I write it.
Okay.
And then we need to do it again where Landon writes it.
Yeah.
I think that's how we need to do this. Because I think that's fun. I enjoyed this thoroughly. I know this hasn't been the longest show that we've ever done, but I think that this is a fun little palate cleanser. I think, often you and Landon give me a hard time because the shows that I pick have been really depressing. I mean, I've picked some real bummers. But I think that this is a fun little palate cleanser. I'm still, it's crazy to me that Sonia wrote that all by herself. Wow. Landon's gonna watch this episode.
I know.
He's gonna.
He'd be like, what the hell?
He's gonna be like, what?
JJ.
He's gonna be dying. He's gonna think that's hysterical. I guess if there's any takeaway from this, it's that we should be checking Sonia's house for bodies because there's none there. No,
There's none.
She says there's a very matter of fact. All the evidence is gone, huh, Sonia?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well,
all burned.
well, we thank you guys for tuning in. Sonia, final thoughts.
Oh yeah, I wrote it.
Of course you did. I'm so excited.
Yeah, sure you were. Okay, so
when life gives you lemon.
The secret to happiness is learning how to create the emotions you desire to feel on your own Without waiting for something in the future to happen, you can cultivate any emotion right now.
Jesus Christ. Round of applause for Sonia, though, for this. This has been her most. She's done more talking on this show than she's had to do at any other time. She did a
Well,
really
you
good
had
job.
people complaining that I don't talk much.
We do. We get people complaining. You know, we get people
Is this
complaining you don't
satisfied
talk enough.
enough?
I think Sonia satisfies. I think that's what happened here. I think that people are gonna like this episode. Um, I know I had an absolute blast. I think that yeah, Landon probably is punching air right now, wishing that he could be on. Um,
Yeah.
my final thought, to quote the lovely Reba McEntire: "Don't trust your soul to know down the south backwoods lawyer." Yeah, yeah. Uh, have a great day, everyone. Sonia, what are we doing next week?
True crime. True crime. A real story.
Next week, let me pull up the schedule. I believe next week we'll be talking about Pedro Rodriguez. So that's a name that you can look into, Sonia. As always, everyone, take care of each other. Don't be angry. Don't be like Sonia either.
What, too happy?
Yeah. Don't be like that. Christ. Half the time though, you wake up 2 minutes before we do the show, so no wonder
And
you're
I'm
happy.
laughing.
But I mean, yeah, she's, I need whatever Sonia's using.